My name is Dr. Sudhir Ruparelia. I'm a fourth generation Ugandan Asian. Our family came to Mombasa in 1897. They reached Uganda in 1903. My father was born in Uganda. His grandfather actually came to Africa first. My father's grandfather. I was born in Uganda, and my son is born in Uganda. So we are fourth generation Ugandan Asians. And of course, we are citizens of this country by birth, constitutionally. My parents were doing business in a place called Kabatoro, Lake Katwe, in the middle of the game park. Our family, I was conceived in Kabatoro because of the hospitals in Kampala. So my mother came to deliver in Kampala and go back to to Kabatoro. So that's my my background. You are in Kabatoro. There's about 7 buildings in that small trading center. We're in the middle of the game park. So, animals, it's quite common for animals to, come in the town and sit in the middle of the road. There's lions and elephants. And in fact, there's one particular group of elephants who will come every day, every night at 10 o'clock. Because they will then go to the garbage dustbin, and they will actually go and make sure that all the banana leaves and potato skins and everything which is there, they would be emptying it. And there was one time when I think my mom went for dinner somewhere else. So there wasn't much, garbage. Yeah, so the elephants got a bit angry, and actually they knocked down our wall of the house. So it's a very. I have a lot of good memories about my childhood. And my education was in Kampala. I was 5 years old. I went to boarding school because we didn't have the schools that we would want in our area. So I had to travel when I was 5 or 6 years old, and the only transportation was either you went to Kasese and got a train, or you asked your neighbors to give you a lift on their trucks, because their trucks will come to Kampala to buy provisions, and also from Katwe they will take either salt or a smoked fish. And we will be sitting on the top of the lorries and do the 8-hour journey from Kabatoro to Kampala. And I still remember those, because you would have a tarpaulin on the top, you have a little bit opening, you sit on the top there. And it's an 8-hour journey. I'm sure you people have not done it, but I've done it many, many, many times. And in those days, the only part of the tarmac road was from Kampala to Masaka, or up to Yantonde. Yeah, and then it was all Maram. So you can imagine you're up there, and when a dry season, another truck crosses yours, all the dust will come on us. Whoop. So by the time we reach Kampala after 8 or 9 hours, we're all full of mud, And also the amazing part in those days, we used to either stop over in Lukaya to eat our food. The couple of restaurants, we eat just meat and matoke and nyama and all that. Or the other stop is Yantonde. If you're coming from Kampala, you leave normally at 4 o'clock in the afternoon. By the time you reach Yantonde, those days were 3-hour journey. So by 7 o'clock you reach there, you eat your food and then continue till morning. So those are the exciting times we remember. My parents were traders. They had a shop in Kabatoro. They were running the canteen in Moya Safari Lodge. Canteen meaning not canteen for food, but canteen for provision, where all the workers would buy sugar, tea, biscuits, clothes, because there are more than 1,000 people working there. And they would actually buy their provisions. My father would give them credit, and come the end of the month when they get salaries, they'll come and pay. So it was kind of a good arrangement for everyone. My first school was what we call now Bet Valley, Bomber Road. Novik Hospital. So Novik Hospital was our boarding school. Yes, and across the road is a school called Bet Valley now. Before it was another name. It was a very long name, and it was built by an Asian entrepreneur who donated it to the community. Some Indian businessman. And I did from 1960 to 66. Then I went from 66 to 71 in Jinja. So I finished my up to P7 examinations in Jinja. I don't know if anybody knows Jinja. There's a school called Main Street Primary School. I went there from 66 to 69. Then I was Jinja Senior Secondary School for 2 years. Then I came to Kampala. I went to Kalolo Senior Secondary for about 7-8 months, and then the expulsion of the Asians came in. The expulsion was, I had no emotions as far as people who suffered or had emotions were people who had their businesses and established for 70, 80 years around here. And then all of a sudden, they had to move and pack and leave everything. Everything in the house, the businesses, the factories. It was hard for them than for somebody like me who had a family, but I was in a boarding school. So in a boarding school, you learn how to survive, because you're bigger boys than you bully you, and then you learn how to fight back. And I think that is what some of my strengths are. I learned how to survive with tougher people than you. And so my father worked all his life to create and we're not really, we're middle class people, we're not wealthy. I don't come from a wealthy family, but I also don't come from a poor family. My father just made enough money to put food on our table, and he paid our school fees. And I used to get 2 new uniforms every year and 2 casual wear. So I used to get 4 pairs of clothes every year. 2 sets of uniform, because as you're growing, you sort of outgrow it. And then, and this was normally at the Hindu New Year called Diwali. So when you have Diwali, it's like your Christmas for Christians. So we had Diwali, and in the New Year's Day, which is the following day, is when you have to put on new clothes, and like you go to church when on the Christmas day or something. Yes, the best you can get. So I grew up in that environment where all we got and were 4 pairs of clothes a year, 2 pairs of uniform and 2 pairs of casual wear. And I think we were very happy to get it. and sometimes look forward to it. So I grew up in that environment. And, you know, for people like me who were studying and who didn't have attachment, because I never created the business. I never worked hard to even achieve what these people did. So slightly like you know, it's like a wave. You have to go with the wind, yeah. So that's what happened. I had a Ugandan passport, and my parents, within the 30 days, within the first 30 days of 90 days, they left. I was all alone here, and I then decided to leave last minute because I wanted to stay. But then I got, then I said, listen, I'm 17 years old. I don't know how to make a living. How do I stay here? I was depending on my parents like most young children do. So I said, let me also go. So that's why I left on the last day, 5th November, 1972. And I never been on a plane before. The best thing I ever did, you know, was to get a train. And by the way, it's lovely train standards then, you know. But so you're getting on the plane, you land in UK, 3 o'clock in the morning, you come out of the airport, get in the bus, takes you to a camp, you know, and it's foggy, you know, lights are orangey, the roads, you know, you don't know where you're going to end up. So that was the kind of thing we did. From there, we woke up in the morning. I still didn't have a sweater, nothing. Because in Uganda, you didn't need a sweater. I was young, fit, healthy. It's now that once in a while I put sweater because I'm not so young anymore, but I'm still good. And the weather has changed because we now also get a lot of cold weather and all that. Then in the morning, the British were very kind to the refugees. Some of the personnel came to meet us who had just arrived the night before. They took us for breakfast. In the meantime, they also gave us a, you know, coat. Overall, I don't know whether it is brand new or second-hand, I don't even know. So I put an overcoat because it was cold. And then I met somebody in the breakfast, and they asked us when we came, we exchanged. Then one of them was traveling from the camp we were in, refugee camp, from Greenham Common to London. And he said, I'm going to London. I said, can you take me with you? You know, he was very good. He was also an Asian refugee like me, but he's been there a few times. So he took me to London, and then he came and dropped me in Finchley Central. And then I went to my auntie's house. And when I went there, they were very kind to put me up. We were about 6 people living in 2-bedroom. Everybody was struggling, you know. So everybody was struggling. In the meantime, you also, but people, when you struggle, they're very helpful, and you are in it together. And I guess I had to find out where my father was. My father was in a city called, or town called Scunthorpe. It is in the north of England. So when I found out about where he's about, then after a few days, I left London to go to Scunthorpe. And I met them. I look at the town. It is basically the whole town depended on steel, the steel works there. And everybody, majority of people who stayed there had to work in a steel, and it's something that I'm not ready for. And there are two famous factories. One factory was making potato crisps called Walker's Crisp, if you know them. So 2 things started from Scunthorpe: steel mill and the crisp. But then I stayed there for about 2 weeks. Then I told my father, look, this is not. I don't know what I want to do. I didn't even know what I wanted. I was not educated because I didn't finish my education. I didn't know what job, and I didn't want to work in a steel mill. So I told my dad, listen, I'm going to tour around England and find a place where I'm going to settle. So I went to Birmingham, Manchester, Macclesfield, Stockport, from there to Ilford in London, and then I ended up again in Finchley. So I started working in Finchley, and then there was times that I have two jobs. One would be working nights. I would be working at weekends as a taxi driver, and I would go to school from Monday to Friday. I'll sleep about 4 or 5 hours in between. And of course, once in a while when I was working, I would fall asleep. But that's part and parcel of survival, yeah? I actually got I rented a bed sitter. In England, you call them bed sitters, you know. You get a room, you get your cooker, you have separate toilet, and you have, in England, they have gas meters. So if you want to heat your room, you put a coin, and the electricity and gas will come for your cooking and for your heating. So it's like a self-contained room. And those, in England, rooms are not very big. Huh? So I was paying £6 a week. And that's why I had to work to support myself when I was 18 years old. And also, would be working, and then I met my girlfriend, who's now my wife. I think, you know, their parents were basically very conservative, middle-class Indians who wanted to make sure their daughter married either an accountant or lawyer or dentist or somebody like that. Here they just found a boy who's a taxi driver. So, you know, it's like a big taboo. I think when they found out, and we were going out for a few years before the family even knew we were going out. In those days, you couldn't take somebody's girl out for dinner or something and they allow, you know. I think even in Uganda was very difficult. Now it's a little bit flexible, you know. So I had these issues, and then they said this man is, you know, staying on a rented property, And fortunately, you know, when I was 20 years old, I saved enough money to put a deposit for a house. In those days, I saved about £6,000. I got a £12,000 mortgage, and I bought a house when I was 20 years old. It was kind of in the meantime, in England, I'd worked in a bakery, in a butchery, in the supermarkets, in factories. It's part of my life, you know. But I have no regrets. I treasure every bit of job I did, and it is the experience from the job has made me who I am. And never ever feel any job is too small for you. That's why I understand hotel kitchens. In all our hotels, I'm the one who designed all kitchens myself. From the time you get your supplies, your fresh vegetables, your meat, everything, I know how to design so that the flow of goods and fresh vegetables is done in such a way that it doesn't become a roadblock. It must flow. And nobody is crisscrossing each other. Then my wife, now, I mean, in 1977 we got married. She was working in a bank, so we had 2 salaries. And then after marriage, my wife said, "You can't work as a taxi driver. I don't want my family to say I'm married to one. So I stopped, and then I did some accountancy courses, and got my knowledge from there for the accounts. And then I started working in a company which was, and I was managing their financial affairs in England. My uncle never left Uganda, and my cousins were first, after 72 they went to England, and then they came back here. I don't know if you know Tushar, Dipu, Paresh, Ruparelia. So they always stayed here. So they would once in a while call me and said, why don't you come, and my uncle, when we visit us, he would talk about Uganda, Uganda, Uganda. So Uganda never went out of us, or we never went away from Uganda. And what is other interesting thing is that Africa is either in your blood or it is not in your blood. And Africa definitely was in my blood. So by the time I came, I had quite a few properties in England. However, I left them and I came to Uganda. And I came back in 1985. I was actually selling beer. I was not importing at that time. I had a shop, I was selling, there are lot of people I knew who were importing beers. Most of my Ugandan colleagues I'd met and become friends with, so they were importing beers. So I would buy the whole truck from them, and when I would buy a truck, and I would tell them I don't have all the money. I'm going to give you 50% now, 50% come back after 2 days, 4 o'clock. And when he comes after 2 days, 4 o'clock, in those days we had big boxes of money. I don't know if you remember, you guys. So that money would be waiting for him. Because it was very unusual for somebody to come and tell you money is there after 2 days. And most of the times, majority of people never honor those. So I was one of the many guys who would honor and keep my word. And over the next few months, people say, no, this guy is a good guy. If he tells you something, he will do it. And that's how our business on the beers grew. And within 5-6 months, we were the largest beer dealer in Kampala in 1986. So I think we create good reputation. We started making positive cash flow. And after 1 year, we started also importing, as well as we're buying from on these beer importers. And we had all kinds of customers from all the major hotels, Sheraton, the hotel from Entebbe, they all come to Kampala to buy. When I came here, it's like everything else. You need to. You don't know what. I didn't know what I was going to do. But my cousins were there, so they do this, do that. Then this guy called Gandesa gave me a shop, and I met the other guys, and they said, "Look, I'm importing beers. Why don't you sell my beers?" So I said, "Okay, let me try." And it's a fast-moving item. We didn't produce them, so everything was imported. And then sometimes you have issues with weather or something, there's a shortage. And that's the time you get premium and you sell everything. So you have your regular supply, but sometimes you have always times when it's up and down, a shortage is there, then you also make slightly higher profit. So that's how I started. No, in every country, in every tribe, or there are always some, there's always some people who do business and some people who lead and some always has to follow. So even in Uganda today, some of the most amazing, successful businessmen are Ugandans. I used to deal with them in the Crane Bank in Kikubo. We supported most of them. And, they're very hardworking, decent business people and astute business people. And very successful. They made lots of money. Hardworking people. So there's always good business people out of every community. Now, okay, sometimes we have a different family values where, we sort of have a bit of conservative way of thinking so my successor will be my children, right? And the complexity sometimes Uganda is a man would have few homes. And even when he dies, and most African friends of mine don't make wills. They fear that if you make a will, you die early. So they don't do them. Now, poor man is died. His body they bring home, kasiki or whatever you call it. And then next morning, even before the man is buried, everybody's fighting over his wealth. Then somebody comes, that I'm his wife. Somebody comes, this is my father. So that then whatever the man has built, it divides. If they agree, and if they don't agree, then it ends up in a bigger problem. Whereas for us, it's very clearly whoever is the hardest working, whether it's a man or a girl, whoever is going to maintain your wealth would become a successor. Your heir to your business. So I think, and then so that from generation to generation you have it. Okay, for me, everything I built is myself, so it doesn't work for us. But other well-known family names in Uganda, you can see their father developed and then the children have come, picked up the pieces, the land was there, factories were there, and they built on it. So, of course, next generation will be slightly easier for them to, because they have a foundation. But I think, and then also with the Asian community, we work with each other and we are socially always close, but the day starts in the morning and you're doing your business, there you don't have friends, you don't have relatives. If I'm doing business here and my colleague who I drink with at night is doing business there, daytime we will kill each other in business. A competition. However, if the man is in problems, we will help him. So I think we are not there to, if somebody is in a problem, we'll try and help him. But the same two people in the daytime is war. So the competition of business is there. In Amin's era, people also don't remember that he killed a lot of Ugandans. Ugandans suffered the most. The Asians suffered short term, but in the long term became their gain. But the Ugandans suffered heavy losses in terms of human lives. Now the positive side was when these Asians left, they created a vacuum. So in the beginning you had Amin who came in and started allocating shops. People didn't know what price to sell the shirts. So if it's a size 16 or 17, they would, they were very green. But over a period of time, it created real Ugandan entrepreneurs. And today in Uganda, the most successful retailers and the traders and real estate owners are Ugandans, nobody else. And if some of my Ugandan colleagues who fail, it's not because of his color, because he's failed as an entrepreneur, not because he's competing with the Asians or anybody. His biggest competitors are Ugandans. And I know about 40, 50 of these Ugandans who are extremely wealthy and successful people. And why not? So there's a positive side and negative side, not only for the Asians, but even for the Ugandan community. Even today, Uganda, under the leadership of NRM, from the time the infrastructure broke down and everything, Uganda today has more than 5,000 manufacturing units. And even today, 95% of these factories, production units are owned by Indians. And Indians are today is less than 0.001%, 1/10 of 1%. And they're actually producing about more than 60% of our GDP. Our national budget in this country is contributed by Asians. 0.01% of population is providing 60% of income generation in this country, even today. Most of my Ugandan colleagues and entrepreneurs are basically either retailer or owning arcades and properties. And they are second generation now become professionals. They're very articulate professors, teachers, doctors, and you have that class also. But the bulk of Ugandan community has still not ventured into manufacturing. You see, the manufacturer is still controlled, I won't say controlled, but it is managed by the Asians. Even today, after everything went under, they came back, and slowly, government created an environment where it was conducive for business. So today, Uganda's got 5,000 factories. And today, we are in hospitality. We own 11 hotels in Kampala. We're in real estate. We are the largest private developers in this country in real estate. We are in education. We own 3 schools and 1 university. And we are also very, very strong in floriculture. We grow roses. And we've been growing roses for 20 years. We're now exporting about 500,000 roses every day. We are also in a bit of media. It's just nothing special there. However, we have now we have what you call a recruitment agency where we export our Ugandan labor abroad. And you know, Ugandans are amazingly courteous and hardworking people. And the feedback from foreign countries there, they really like Ugandans. And I think at any given time, there are more than 5,000 vacancies for Ugandans. In fact, Rajiv has even just gone to Poland to see, they need a lot of workers there. And to see if the Ugandan workforce can fit there. So, but we've been exporting and recruiting people for Saudi, Qatar, Dubai, Oman, and have been very successful. And you see, our young population is more than 50% is less than 25 years of age or more, I don't know. So the potential of exporting our labor is very important. A country like India has labor all over the world, and it earns over $100 billion a year just from the remittances. In Uganda, we earn about $1.5 billion, which is really an amazing backbone of our economy. Uganda is at it is at a level where After COVID, I think we are partly recovering slowly. However, oil is serious. Oil business is starting. Come next year, you will start seeing a bit of effect, and the confidence of oil investors and the whole oil industry, and that in itself brings new opportunities and new challenges. However, long-term opportunity in Uganda, in my opinion, agriculture is one of the biggest opportunity one should look into. Because when you're in agriculture, you're actually creating wealth for the country. Manufacturing, again, you're creating wealth. Service industry, you're living off the others, basically. But the opportunity is there. So whatever the skills you have, Uganda is one country, in my opinion, with the oil coming, is going to be incredible. And don't forget, after 5-6 years, refineries built. When refinery is built, the refinery is going to give Uganda 100 byproducts of oil. Meaning, oil is the mother industry. You'll have another 100 major industries cropping up into Uganda. So you can look at the opportunity. Your plastics, your petrochemicals, chemicals, fertilizers, plastics, you have petroleum jelly, you name it is going to come out of that. Bitumen for the roads. So 100 major industries will come in this country aftermath of the oil. No, we don't. Our weakness is we have no food problem. We have no issue of land. And I've never seen a starving person in Uganda. There's too much food here. And that is a comfort zone. Now, I'll give you an example that if a Ugandan who goes abroad, working in London or America, is probably doing 2 jobs. How come we cannot do the same thing in this country? Right? So when a Ugandan goes abroad, he works harder than the local population and is more successful than the local population because he's in a foreign country. Second, when you're in a foreign country, you always have to have insurance. You make money, you don't spend it all. Now here, there are a lot of Ugandan families who are middle upper class who don't have to worry because they have a roof, they have food. So whatever money they make, the youngsters will spend it. Am I saying the wrong thing? So this is their home. So they don't have to worry about tomorrow. And I think you need that bit of insecurity to make you work harder so that tomorrow is not a bad tomorrow. Am I right? Okay. Same Ugandan who's here will not do certain job. Same Ugandan will go abroad, will do it. Because the thing is beneath his family, he can't do certain, but in Cheo, they're doing anything and everything. And they're making money. So this is the mindset where we need to look at. When I was driving taxi, my immediate focus was how to please my client who's sitting at the back of the car to make him feel comfortable, and I deliver him from this journey to the other journey, and how I get a better tip. You understand, tipping was quite common, and it is part of the culture there, and so is here. So your job is to make sure you take your client from A to B, make him comfortable, and of course you expect that give him a good journey, and he will also tip you well. So get the job done from your heart. Sometimes you do a job because you have to do a job. Anything you do, you must make sure it comes from your heart. Whatever job. whether you're working in a factory, whether working in a bakery or butchery, just do your best and give you 100%. A lot of times you have certain workers who are there because he needs a job, not because he wants to do the job. And I think once you get over that, and also the job you are doing, and you begin to enjoy it, then it will come from your heart. And I think, especially being in hospitality business, I have over the years, we found that about 20 years ago, 15 years ago, nobody wanted to work in hotels. And a lot of the times, the middle class family can never ever think of having hotel as a career. Whereas if you go to England, some of the best chefs are what you call career chef. They want to become a chef and work in some of the best hotels, So all that thing, it's a different mindset. Here, if somebody says, I want to do a hotel management course, in those days, it's like a taboo. How? Hotel is the cheapest job. You're serving people. No, but you're also management in hotel. You are managers. You are, receptionists. So all kinds of jobs are there in hotel. So from the family to work in a hotel was a taboo. And I had to go to where I came from, started getting some workers from there, and most of the hotel workers you find there from Buera and Renzururu. So we started bringing them, and I think they've now become the backbone of hotel industry in this country. And wherever you go, you find that either they've been trained by us or something, and from our place they're going into better jobs. So we are very happy, And now they come because they want to do a job and work in hotel industry. But before it was a struggle. I remember when I used to go to some hotels, and you had this waiter who come, and he would not even write down. You order something, he says yes, 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 and then he goes and forgets half the things. I don't know if you remember those days. Then he come back and says, where's my thing? Oh. So I think over the last 15, 20 years, I think we've gone a long way. We could not get masons in this country where they would lay down proper tiles and all that,